right, welcome to Fluid and Chill NFL edition. I'm Anthony K. I'm here as always with my main man J Dub. Jay, how you doing, man?
Football season, food and football today. Absolutely, man.
We're all a little full. We're all going to be full when you're watching this. You're going to be very full after a nice Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday, I guess technically today. Are we allowed to say Black Friday anymore? Is that still a thing?
It is. You can say that.
The deals aren't as good as they used to be.
They're not.
I feel like it used to be better.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like, I saw one, it's like 15% off. I'm like, I get 15% off all the time.
That's the tax. What is that? That's nothing.
50%. Like I expect more.
Yeah.
So this week we're obviously going to make all of our Sunday, Monday picks because we've already made our Thanksgiving Day picks. We're going to go through the slate of games, let everybody know what we think. And we're going to go through last week's game.
Mm-hmm.
If you could believe it, there was only 3 games we missed on last week. So we're going to talk about those real quick. And we're going to kick the show off. Kick the show off. I didn't mean to do that, but we're going to kick the show off with a COVID toe or a broken toe from Aaron, as Key and Peele would say. So Aaron Rodgers, broken toe. I don't know why. I don't know why the whole COVID toe thing, really, to be honest with you. But how does that affect Aaron Rodgers, the broken toe?
Well, he's a mobile quarterback. And not only is he a mobile quarterback, when you got a broken bone in your foot, your balance is off. You got a pain tolerance that you have to deal with. And Aaron Rodgers running, that's a huge part of his game. Not just him running, him throwing on the run, him running to create plays. That's a huge part of his game. And it's not a big deal like people are saying. Well, it's not that big of a deal. He's got a broken foot. That's a problem. And it's going to be a huge problem.
Yeah. And listen, with the broken, I don't know if you've ever broken a toe before, but it's not like you can't cast it up or splint it up.
No.
You just deal with it.
That's it.
And just, nothing. There's really nothing. It's, throw some ice on it and on your way. So do you think, does it take away? Like, do you think it's going to make major issues? Like maybe he's not as mobile anymore. Take a few sacks, doesn't run as often. Do you think, or does he is he the type of guy that just works through it?
Well, I think that he's going to work through it, but I do think that it's going to affect him, Tone. Again, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, who takes a lot of 3-step and a lot of 5-step drops, even 7-step drops. So if my foot is broken, that's going to affect my mobility. And Aaron Rodgers makes plays a lot with his legs. So with a broken foot, I'm not going to be able to do that and be as effective as much. Now, what I don't want to do, Tone, is I don't want to blame that primarily on his foot. And the reason why I don't want to do that is because he's going to play. So if you're out there, that tells me that you're ready to go. So I don't want to do that. However, this is going to be an issue.
And it's not like they have easy competition this week.
No,
right? They've got the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
So you're already dealing with Aaron Jones being out, which is a huge part of their offense. I think people underestimate how important the running game is to the Packers and to Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Jones is out. I do like A.J. Dillon as kind of that bruiser, but I like him as a 1-2 with Aaron Jones. We saw last week he didn't do exceptionally well on his own. Now the Rams are coming in. They've got Von Miller. There's another guy on that defensive line, Aaron Donald, I think his name is, who's pretty good. So they're going to go after and test him.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't have, so we're going to do a little pre-pick before we do our full picks. If you had the Packers coming into this, do you change your mind now because of the injury, or do you still?
Well, it has me thinking.
Is it more Aaron Jones or more the toe, or is it more the Rams?
It's more the Rams, and it has me thinking a little bit differently now because of what the Rams have done. I mean, they got smoked when they played against the Niners, and then last week, I mean, they came out pretty solid. But when I'm thinking about what the Rams are doing, Von Miller and Aaron Donald, they're getting back together. They're getting together. They're not getting back together. I'm sorry. They're getting together. And with Jalen Ramsey in that defense, they're going to be all over Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. And his ability to get out of the pocket and run, because that pocket is going to collapse. So I have to take that under consideration. I think that the Rams, they got a really good shot at handling them this week.
Okay. Yeah. And it's interesting. I'd been saying the Packers, and it's, I think the Rams have started to look a little, ever since the trade. I don't think it had anything to do with OBJ, but ever since the trade, they haven't looked kind of the same. Mm-hmm. And Matthew Stafford has started to look like Detroit Lion Matthew Stafford. Mm-hmm. And I said that was going to continue. But now like I don't want to use it as an excuse, but like I said, Aaron Jones, the toe, there's little kind of chinks in that armor that I think might make it a little bit more difficult. So that being said, our picks from last week. So I'm actually pretty impressed. So here are the three that we got wrong. And one of them obviously is going to be, let's start with that one since we're already talking Green Bay. Green Bay, Minnesota. Field goal in overtime or at the end of the game, whatever. I think it was an overtime. What happened? Was it just the Aaron Jones thing, or was it Justin Jefferson going?
Justin Jefferson going off. They really couldn't do anything with him, and I was extremely happy with what Justin Jefferson did. I was surprised at Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins usually in primetime games he isn't very good, and in this particular situation he was really good against Green Bay. He was good against the rush. He was good getting rid of the football. I can't say that Minnesota defense was great. But I think that they did.
They gave up 31 points. It's not.
I think they did as well as they could against that Green Bay offense. And I think that Kirk Cousins and Jefferson was the difference in that game. And I was pleasantly surprised with Jefferson.
You know, it's funny because coming into the season, I had Jefferson kind of up there as one of the top receivers in the game, and he is.
I had him at a top 10 receiver. Yes, I did.
Yeah, absolutely. And just he's been nice, but he hasn't really been great. But I put a lot of that on Kirk Cousins, right? Mm-hmm. And so, he had a breakout game this week. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what carried them through. So, but no long-term, you think that was just one of those really good games played by Minnesota, divisional game kind of thing? Okay. Mm-hmm. I do. The other one we both got wrong in this one, this is what I expected from Tennessee 3 weeks ago when they lost Adrian Peterson. Sorry, that's who they have now. Excuse me. When they lost Derrick Henry.
Right.
This is what I expected from them. Was it just kind of like adrenaline rush those first 2 weeks that carried the defense through, and now this is who we're going to see? Or again, was it just an anomaly against Houston?
I think that was to get dominated by Houston the way they did. I mean, that offense completely sputtered. They got nothing going on offense whatsoever. And I'm not buying that was Ryan Tannehill. And I mean, Adrian Peterson, he did have 9 rushes for 40 yards. So it wasn't like he was completely trash. He did do well. It was just that defense, they looked out of sorts. The offense, Julio Jones didn't look like he was engaged. They just looked like they were all over the place. Maybe that was a trap game. Maybe
you think it's one of those they thought, hey, we've been playing so great since we lost Henry. Hey, no problem.
Tone, they got a 1-8 Houston team coming in here. What other not excuse, but what other reason can you see them losing the way they did? I really think that they looked at Houston. And they looked past Houston. We'll handle these dudes. Only except, no, you didn't. You have to play every Sunday, and they didn't do that.
This is the second time that we've said a team didn't take another team serious. And it's just like, we say any given Sunday for a reason, right? You can't take these games lightly. And it's not like you have an 82 or 162 game season to, we can lose one. No, you got to win every game that you can. Mm-hmm. And that's the ones that separates, the teams that are going to go to the Super Bowl and the teams that aren't going to go to the Super Bowl is when you have a team that you should beat, you beat them. You have to. So I was really surprised that there was such a letdown from them because they're going to be in the same boat as Buffalo. Can they get it back and going again? Because like I said, that defense looks so good and then just not against Houston. So I think that's one that everybody got wrong. And then the last one, this was a toss game. We both went with Carolina, Cam Newton, thinking he's going to come back in, be the starter, and kind of carry them to a win. Mm-hmm. Washington comes in. Tyler Heineke looks good again, and they beat Carolina. Mm-hmm. And I know that one was a pick'em game, but we obviously both picked Carolina, so I guess there's somewhat of a surprise that Washington won. What did you see from Washington that got them to win?
Heineke, man, he looked really good in the pocket. That run game actually looked really good. And McLaurin looked really good. McLaurin looked really good. And he's becoming more of Heineke's target as the weeks go on. He looks like him and Heineke are just getting more and more on the same page. When I look at Carolina, I mean, it's the first game that Christian McCaffrey and Cam have played in 5 years. This is the first time they've played together since I think it was like not that long. I'm sorry. 3 seasons since they've been together. So they've got to get themselves back on the same page. But I'm pretty sure that Carolina team, I think they undefeated in the NFC South. I don't think they've lost in the NFC South yet.
Yeah, I think they're still going to be okay.
Yeah.
But it's just I was surprised to see Washington. McLaurin's an interesting one because he was like from a fantasy perspective and a real football perspective. I'm going to bring up the fantasy because I have him on my team. And I said when it was Fitzpatrick, I said, hey, that's your sleeper guy. Everybody go out and draft McLaurin and then once Fitzpatrick goes down, I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. But now he's showing that quarterback, it's less quarterback dependent. He's legit. So for sure, I think that was the deciding factor in that game. I still think Carolina's going to be fine. Washington, Carolina, right there, they're going to be middle of the pack teams. So that brings us to this week. We got a good slate of games, but I'm going to start with. Let me see if I'm going to start with a good one because I'm going to start with a good one. I'm just pulling up my list here. So I love divisional games. Fighting for the top 5-4-1 against 6-4. So you got the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals coming off a nice game, looked like they were done, and now they look, they're back. Pittsburgh has been, I don't want to say inconsistent this season, but due to injuries and some other things, you never really know what you're going to get from Pittsburgh, right?
Right.
So
that's what's caused the inconsistency with the Steelers, Tone, is the fact that you have had so many guys in and out the lineup. Juju's been hurt. Ben Roethlisberger's been hurt. So there's that continuity hasn't been there for the entire season because you've had guys in and out of the lineup. Now, as far as the Cincinnati Bengals, you and I had this conversation before the season started. I'm big on Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's going to the playoffs, and I think that they're going to make some noise in the playoffs. And I think they handle Pittsburgh this weekend.
So you got Cincinnati.
I think they handle Pittsburgh this weekend.
I have a heavy dose of Najee Harris and in a Pittsburgh win. In a close one. It's going to be when you get divisional games, I don't think either team's going to blow them out. But I think it's going to be like a field goal kind of difference in the game. But I think I actually got Pittsburgh. The surprising Colts, at least surprising last week. They looked good last week. 6-5 against the 7-3 Bucks, who had lost 2 in a row. Didn't obviously came out, played really well on Monday night. Granted, it was against the Giants, but so they end their losing streak, I guess 2-game losing streak. But now they're facing a pretty good Colts team.
And on top of that, Tom hasn't been very good on the road this season. So with that being said, I'm rolling with the Colts in this because I love what Jonathan Taylor's doing. Wentz can be a little reckless from time to time.
Yeah, but when you have a guy like Jonathan Taylor to kind of rely on, because he looked fantastic last week.
Yes, he looked great. I mean, 32 rushes for 185 yards and 5 touchdowns. That is incredible. So I think that the Colts handle the Bucs this week. Tom hasn't really been that good on the road, and that Tampa Bay Bucs defense, it's been sputtering of late.
Yeah, they're banged up a little bit, but I'm more concerned about their secondary than their front. And I think, go ahead.
Some people, that defense hasn't been bad. They only gave up 10 points to the Giants. That Giants offense is trash. Let's not even take it there. That offense is trash with the Giants. So I'm not buying that at all.
I know that this is nothing purely but gut. However, I don't feel like you're going to get a back-to-back Jonathan Taylor, that type of game. And I think that's what they're going to need to beat the Bucs. And so the Bucs kind of weakness on offense is the secondary. And that means maybe they load up the box and stop Jonathan Taylor, or at least try to, and try to let Carson Wentz. If they're going to beat them, it's going to be on Carson Wentz's arm. That I don't trust. So I'm going to go with the Bucs.
I don't know, Tone. Just so you know Jonathan Taylor. The reason why
I know.
The reason why we don't talk about Jonathan Taylor is because there's a guy in that division.
Right. Oh, I know.
That's why we don't talk about him. But he leads the league in rushing touchdowns. I just want to put that out there.
No, I'm with you. And we're gonna get to him in a minute here. I know Jonathan Taylor's nice. I just listen. That's my gut. I said it's purely gut.
Yeah.
All right. With the Panthers, we talked about the Panthers a little bit earlier. So we got the Panthers, and the Dolphins. The Dolphins are another one of those teams I never know what I'm going to get from. However, I think after the loss last week, I think Cam, McCaffrey, they figure it out, and I think they go to Miami and they get the win.
My gut tells me that Miami is going to beat them this week, Tone.
Ooh, I think we're different on every single game.
My gut tells me that Miami is going to beat these dudes this week.
Okay.
I know that they played the Jets, and anybody can get their confidence going against the Jets.
Fair enough.
My gut is telling me that Miami is going to beat these dudes this week.
All right, and it has nothing to do with you being like down in South Florida, right?
I am not a South Florida guy. I am not a Miami Dolphins guy. No, I'm not.
All right. So speaking, we had said Jonathan Taylor. No one talks about him because the other running back in his division. So the Titans now. Oh, tough matchup this week against the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Henry obviously is the reason we don't talk enough about Jonathan Taylor, because when he's healthy, there's talk. If you could believe it, there's talk that if they still sit atop the AFC at 8-3,
Mm-hmm.
so they should be in the playoffs. That he's going to be back. Derrick Henry might be back in time for the playoffs.
There is talk. I have heard that, and
so
he would be welcome, Tone. Let's make sure that we
100%.
Even though Adrian Peterson is toting the rock for them, but Derrick Henry would absolutely be welcome. I think that there is there's still some sour feelings about how Tennessee handled the Patriots 2 seasons ago in the playoffs. I think there's still some sour feelings about that. And I think Belichick remembers that.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that the Patriots are rolling right now, I think that they handled Tennessee.
I am 100% with you, because you know how I feel about the Patriots. I'm high on the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
I said I think they're going to win the AFC East. I think they're going to be in the AFC Championship game. In fact, they have a shot. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. They have a shot of representing the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And we've never had a rookie quarterback win a Super Bowl.
Ever.
Watch out this year. It might happen. So that's the next game. I love these division games. I really do. Even when it's not great teams, although the Eagles have looked much better.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles and Giants. Giants coming off a tough Monday nighter.
Yeah.
Now they face the divisional game against kind of a resurgent Philadelphia team.
Tone, we getting to the point of the season where we're starting to get some separation with teams, where you're starting to see teams be who they are. And I think the Giants are who they are. I was big on them early before the season started, and I was wrong. I think Philadelphia handles them. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is their guy in terms of them getting to the bowl game, but I do think he's their quarterback. I absolutely believe that they're going to build it around him, and I think they handle the Giants this week. The Giants fired Jason Garrett, which I think was a good thing, because.
But you like offensive guys getting fired in the middle of the season.
I do, especially if it helps our offense.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So,
yeah. And so I think, look, now that the Giants are going to have, but you still think Philly wins, yeah?
I think Philly handles them. Yes, I do.
I think you're going to see a better offensive kind of scheme from the Giants this week. I think you're going to see more from Daniel Jones. I think Saquon Barkley's now maybe. Is this the week that he kind of starts to get it back into his groove?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I don't think it's enough. I'm with you. I'm on the Eagles this week. Falcons and the Falcons. I want to say they've just looked horrible, but at the same time, I can't even put it on Matt Ryan, because no Calvin Ridley, no, and I can't even believe I'm saying this, no Cordell Patterson, who's become a big part of their offense.
Yeah.
So really, he's kind of left there alone to kind of figure it out. So Atlanta's not looking good. Can the Jags get their 3rd win of the season?
No, I think Atlanta gets back to 500 this week. I do. I think they get back to 500. I had Kyle Pitts as my offensive rookie of the year before the season started, and I think that they get back to 500.
I think Atlanta loses. I think Jacksonville. In another, at some point, it's gonna stop being a surprise, but I think Jacksonville gets this win. I think Matt Ryan and that offense he can't just throw exclusively to Kyle Pitts. They don't have a running game. They really don't have any other offensive weapons. I feel bad for them, because all healthy, they're pretty good offense. But yeah, I think the Jags take this one. Your favorite team, the Jets. Has there ever been 2-8 teams that you look at so differently, right? Like the Jets are 2-8, and everyone's like, they're trash. The Houston Texans are 2-8, and you're kind of like, hey, they're coming off a pretty good win. They play.
They're
well.
trash too, Tone. Knock it off. They're trash too. They are trash too. So, and I'm looking at this game. I think Houston gets the Jets. I think they handle them. That's as far as I'm going to go with that.
All right. I'm just comparing those two teams.
Oh
When
my
you compare, and I'm with you. I got the Texans over the Jets. No, we're not going to talk much about that one. The this is. I don't know if you might have to abstain from picking this game because your team that you thought was going to represent the AFC in the AFC Championship game, and you still might, is going against the team that you kind of been having an affair on your 49ers with. So we got the Chargers and the Broncos. Are you allowed to make a pick?
I am.
Is it gonna be a tie?
Quietly, I am allowed to make a pick, but quietly. And I just like what Justin Herbert and that Chargers team has been doing. They look really good against Pittsburgh. Him and Mike Williams look like they're getting back on the same page. Him and Keenan Allen, they also getting back on the same page. So I'm looking at this Charger team, and I love Denver quietly. I do, but I think the Chargers handle them this weekend. Yeah.
What I've seen this season from the Chargers, and I know it goes against your early season prediction of them being, and I love Justin Herbert as well, don't get me wrong, but this is the kind of game that the Chargers lose. You know, it's the type of game that, you know, it's close, right? If you look at the odds, I think the Chargers are 2.5-point favorites, so it's close, and it's one that they probably should win in a tight matchup. But it's one that Denver's gonna win, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go with the Broncos.
I think they already had their slump, Tone.
I think their slump is over. Okay.
I think they already had their slump. I think they added that.
All right. So let's. We talked a lot about this game, so let's just make our picks. Rams, Packers. I think you said you're going with the Rams. I'm gonna stick with the Pack, even with the toe and no Aaron Jones. I think AJ Dillon has a big game, and they figured how to utilize that play action again. I think they run away from Aaron Donald, and I think they play action pass away from Jalen Ramsey enough to get the win.
You can run, but you can't hide, Tone.
And let's be honest, the Packers. I know that the Packers isn't a great defense,
right?
However, they do know Matthew Stafford, and I think that comes in. You're going to see. There's going to be a point where like, yeah, they knew Matthew Stafford, and that's how they get it. Vikings, big win against the Pack last week. Against your 49ers, who, wow, they look good.
Hey, man.
It's like a different team.
And by the way, this is for playoff positioning, right?
Yeah.
And now the degrees has been turned up, and we know what happens when the degrees gets turned up on Mr. Kirk Cousins. So I'm going to roll with my Niners on this one. I think we handle Minnesota.
I told you this, I think, when you said to me, and it sounded probably ridiculous to some people at the time, was that they can go on. I think it was like if they go 6-2 or 5-3, I forget what it was. And I said the 49ers have a legit shot of sneaking up now and making the playoffs. And nobody wants to play the 49ers because of that defense. Because when they start running the ball, like what they did, I think it was against the Rams game, I think, where they just kind of ran over everybody. I'm with you. I think the 49ers get the win. And if you're a team like fighting for that bye week, right? I think it's the Packers and whoever. You want the bye week because I don't think you want to face the 49ers in that first round. Nope. I don't think you do. So that's going to be an interesting one. Then we go to there's a lot of divisional games this week.
With a lot of playoff implications. Yeah, both the Vikings and Niners are both 5-5. The next one, they're 6-5, 7-3. The team that I picked to win the AFC North against the team that you picked to win the AFC North. And we got the Browns and the Ravens. The Ravens, you know, I know who Baltimore is, and I know that they go as Lamar Jackson goes. I mean, Tyler Huntley, I mean, he stepped in last week, and they look good, but getting Lamar Jackson back next week, last time they dominated Cleveland the last time that they played them. And I already know who Cleveland is in terms of their defense, but offensively, Baker Mayfield he just scares me.
Say it.
You don't
what? What don't you do with Baker Mayfield?
I don't trust him. I don't. I don't trust him.
Finally on my side.
I don't trust him. And I was big on Cleveland before the season started. I was a big Cleveland guy before the season started, and he's losing my trust. Yes, so I think Baltimore handles them this week.
And let me say this for all the, I'll say it, hate on Baker Mayfield I've spewed out this season. Let me just say, and I want to reiterate because every time I've said I don't trust Baker Mayfield, he's the worst quarterback in the league. And by that, I mean any other quarterback can come in and they'd have the same record. I like Cleveland and I like the Browns. Like I like the rest of their team. I've said this to you before. At the skill positions, their wide receivers, their running backs, their tight
I'm
ends,
just
their
playing him out.
defense.
He
Right.
got to go.
I like everything about Cleveland,
Except this
offensive
guy.
line, defense, everything. The
Except
only
this
thing I
guy.
don't like is Baker Mayfield. And
This
I
guy.
think, I get it. If you're a Cleveland fan, you got to get behind your quarterback and he's your guy and you'll defend him to the death. But like if you sit quietly in your room and you're like, man, if we had a different quarterback, we'd probably be legit Super Bowl contenders. That's how good this team is.
They not even behind him, Tone. They're booing him.
Now they're booing. Look how long it took them, though. It took them, 11 games. And he's like, oh, I'm hurt. Why are you booing me? We're booing you, or they're booing you. We're booing you. I'm booing them too. Because you're not playing well. You should have lost to the Lions. You're lucky it was the Lions. Right?
Boo!
You're lucky it was the Lions, and they why do you kick a field goal there? You need
Boo!
a touchdown, Lions. Why are you kicking the field goal? But anyways, so I'm clearly going with with the Ravens. Am I getting any pushback? Are you Ravens? Or
No, I'm going with Baltimore. I think Baltimore handles them. Yes.
So we're
Baltimore.
both on the Ravens. And then that takes us to the Monday Nighter. The surprisingly bad. I'm starting to think, I wonder if Russell Wilson would have been happier had he stuck to his guns this offseason and got out of Seattle. Because listen, he flirted with Chicago, so I would have been happy. Not that I'm not looking forward to a future with Justin Fields. However, hey man, there's Russell Wilson. So surprisingly bad Seattle Seahawks team against I don't know what I'm going to get, a Washington football team. So who do you have?
Well, not surprisingly bad, Tone. We got to take into consideration Russ missed a month.
Well, yeah, fair enough.
You and I have had this conversation, and I stand on it that you're only as good as your backup quarterback. And if you could get your backup quarterback, the prime example of what's happening in Arizona with Colt McCoy, what he's doing and just keeping them afloat.
Right.
They lose Russ. That sunk them.
Yeah.
I think that they're out of the playoff race. They're 3-7. I think that they're out. And you're only as good as your backup quarterback. So I don't think that Seattle team was that bad. Bobby Wagner leads the league, or he's second in the league in tackles. That defense is stout. The problem is Russ got hurt. Had Russ not gotten hurt, I think that they would have been right in the middle of it.
Yeah, so unfortunately at 3, wow, they're the only team below them in the standings is the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Like they're tied with, in terms of record, but when tie breaks and all that go into effect too, they're behind the 3-7 Bears and the 3-7 Giants. So they're not making the playoffs. Let's be honest.
No,
but can they get a win, or does Washington, who still has playoff aspirations, right at 4-6, they're only one win out of what is the 5-5? Who holds it now? New Orleans holds that last wild card berth.
I like what Washington is doing, Tom.
Can they put it together?
I do. I like what Washington is doing, man. I like what they're doing offensively more than anything. I like what they're doing. And, I mean, they held, if I'm not mistaken, Carolina to 7 points in the second half of that game. So I like what Washington's doing. I think they can handle Seattle. I think they absolutely handle them.
Listen, I'm on the Tyler Heineke bandwagon. And I think that he showed something last year in the playoffs. And he's starting to get his confidence. Look, do I think he's an elite, lead your team for 10 seasons QB? Probably not. However, I think he's a really serviceable gap starting quarterback until you get that person. And I think, I think the team's behind him. And I think with, McLaurin playing really well and Washington just kind of scheming better than they have most of the season, I've got Washington. I don't know if it's an upset, but I have Washington. Let's see who's they're the favorite by 1.5. So it is Washington. So I won't call it an upset, but I think historically, when you think of Washington and Seattle, it's an upset. So
I think he reminds me. He kind of got a Jeff Garcia thing going on with him, where he's not a franchise quarterback, but he's good enough to get you there.
Yeah. That's actually a really good comparison. So I'm on Washington as well. So we'll go through and we'll come back. We'll see how we did.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts on this week in the NFL?
Not much, man. Like I said, food and football. Absolutely.
Food and football.
We had Thanksgiving yesterday, so we had good football yesterday, and we're gonna have some really good football on Sunday, so it should be good.
What do you for Thanksgiving? For me, I make it like a 4-day thing because I'm pretty much eating turkey, right? Saturday, Sunday and I'm watching as much like it's literally Thursday. It's football and food like from Thursday to Sunday.
Right.
It even probably spills into like a turkey sandwich on Monday. But do you do kind of the same thing or just like I know it's not turkey.
Right. But now that the holidays are here, and it's always been like that, regardless of what I'm eating from Thursday to Sunday with Thanksgiving, it's food and football. It's nothing else. Absolutely not. I'm gonna go get some exercise later. I went and got some exercise yesterday earlier, and then came back, and it was food and football, and it's gonna be food and football all this weekend.
Listen, I don't know what that word is, the exer word thing you use, but maybe next week you can talk to me about what that means. What's exercise? I don't know what that is. I'm not necessarily not familiar with that.
One foot in front of the other toe.
Unless you mean like
getting the sweat like going on.
That's my exercise. I'm doing drumstick curls is what I'm doing. All right, man. So that's it for Fluid and Chill NFL edition. Don't forget to check out the NBA edition on Wednesdays and obviously Monday Night Lives. They've been popping.
Yeah, man.
You got to get your questions in. I'm warning everybody now. You got to get your questions in early because we only have an hour on Monday. And I mean, I know that we miss a ton of questions. We try to get to as many as we can, but come early and set them up.
Absolutely.
All right. Until next week.
Take it light. Take it.